this is sort of a spin-off of the webinar I did last Tuesday evening. And if you were able to be with me, you heard what I had to say. If you were not, it is a recorded webinar. You may have already watched the recorded version, but I'm going to talk a little bit in the beginning about what that was and what this means. So what I've done is I basically determined that when you're in business for yourself and an entrepreneur and you're trying to go out and build your business and be successful, there's really, I've broken down your day, or suggested your day be broken down into what I call stages. And I identified 5 stages of your day. And I'm actually tapping into your entire day. So I'm talking about from the time you wake till the time you go to bed. I don't tell you what you do when it's your personal time, but I tell you you need personal time. And so this webinar, this conversation, this is about stage 2. I don't have an individual webinar about stage 1. In the webinar I did last week, I talked into all 5 stages. But what's important to understand is this is the stage that determines whether or not you're going to succeed in your business. Stage 2 is the core time of your day where you're going to spend your time to build a business. And so unless you take some sort of actions to build a business, you're not going to have a business. You're just not going to make it. So we're going to kind of talk about that. I should have said this first because there is sort of a handout, and I can wait a couple of minutes if you want to stop and get this. And basically, if you go in the back office and you go into the Ask Luxie and use the keyword mega agent, there's a document in there. You could probably just get a scratch paper and kind of follow what I'm saying, but you might want to go back because there is some questions that might be valuable for you to answer for yourself pursuant this presentation that I'm given. And this is really kind of a spin-off of another training program that I've taught many times called How to Build a Thriving Real Estate Business. So I'm just kind of focused on one section of that. And it's stage 2 of your day, and it's your lead generation. I'm going to go ahead and go forward. If you're trying to get the documents and stuff, just do your best to at least listen and get back with me. Again, if you don't have these things, you could probably use scrap paper and go back and then use the document. And even if you have to rewatch this. So, and here's something as I say before, I know that every person that's on here with me right now can be as successful as you want to be. And I'm a prime example of that. I shouldn't theoretically be successful if statistics says what it takes to be successful, because I didn't make the option of taking formal education beyond the high school graduation. I have some regret in my personal life about that, but I do feel I've achieved some success. I'm not trying to play that I'm ultra successful, but what I've done is I've worked hard. I've taken care of people. I serve people. I'm dedicated to making things happen. And I just know with that kind of mentality, you can be successful. Success doesn't come easy, but you can be successful. And I believe everyone that's on with me, I believe everyone that I meet in life can be successful. The right desire. So here's a statement. If we want success for ourselves, we have to not have a want attitude. We have to have a will have attitude. There's no one here that wouldn't say they want to be successful, but no one here would want to be a failure either. So we always say we want to be successful, but some of us may not achieve success, or at least feel we've achieved, but have achieved success. And the core element behind that is you have to have the mindset, the drive, and I use the word commitment. You have to be committed to be successful. What commitment means is a firm decision to do something, and it's that commitment will drive you to be successful. And there's hurdles along the way, and I'm actually doing a seminar tomorrow down in Tampa. I'm going to be kind of a speaker in there, and I talk about three elements of being successful. One, you have to be committed. You have to have a commitment to be successful. You have to have perseverance. And for me, I'm a living example of that. Not everything that I've done in business has succeeded. There's been an immense amount of failures to be successful. It's about picking up and moving around the hurdles that get in your way, or the failures that seem to be stopping you, and just driving past them. So perseverance. And then the third one that I'm going to speak about tomorrow is passion. You have to be passionate about what you do. And when you operate and serve your customers from your heart with passion, then they're going to choose you, and you're going to get that business. They know and they can feel it. So if you want three golden nuggets to be successful, those are them. And we're going to talk now about this part. So we must have a plan. Without a plan, an action plan, a set of actions that we need to do, we can't have a success either. So success doesn't occur if you just wake up and wing the day. You have to have an agenda. And not only do you have to have an agenda, you have to take action on that agenda. Now, you may not know what that agenda needs to be, but by the time we're done this evening, you're going to have a pretty good idea of what it takes to get customers and what ways you can. And then you have to pursue how to achieve learning and tackling those ways. So in my last seminar, the 5 stages to actionable day, and this is really it. Stage 1 is your morning routine. I'm going to speak a little bit, a reminder of that. Stage 2 is your lead generation, lead follow-up time. Stage 3, which precedes your lunch hour from 12 to 1, you have a lunch hour, and then 1 to 4, it would be that you attend appointments that you created because you did stage 2. And then for the very end of your workday, you need to spend about an hour just taking note of everything that you accomplished that day, updating your database, setting your schedule for the next day, and all of those sort of things that kind of plan out the next day and review what you accomplished during the day that you worked. And then from 5 until bedtime, it should be your personal time. Perfect world, that would be great. This business doesn't really align with that. But I did talk about the fact that we do, we have to train the customers we work with, because if we just automatically answer the phone no matter what time of day, people will be trained that you're just going to be that available to them. And it's not that you don't want to serve them at a high level, but you also, just like everyone else in the world, needs personal time. You cannot have a good life, a good work balance, without having personal time. It's really what it's all about. So it's got to have work time and personal time, and personal time should be attended to personal life. Work time, work life. And so we talk about that, and I say, there's nothing wrong with, because our smartphones have voicemail, that the voicemail can take the message, you listen to the message, and you make a determination of whether or not to call somebody back, because it does have that much importance, or that call can be returned the next morning. So it's it's being able to work that way. But let's get back on task, because lead generation and lead follow-up is absolutely necessary. So there's no ignoring this stage. It can't be an option. It has to be an obligation. Anyone in business for themselves, they need customers, they need their services or product. And that's true. I need just one moment, folks. I need to plug in my power cord. I'm sorry, the battery is running low. Give me one moment. Sorry about that. Forgot to plug in my power cord and my battery would have died on us. So lead generation, lead follow-up can't be an option. It has to be an obligation. Otherwise, you have no business, no other actions to do throughout the day. Whew, I ran, sorry. Without a pipeline of leads, you basically will fail. You'll become less and less motivated as time passes, because sometimes we don't get right engaged with our business and we just spend time thinking we need to learn and tiptoe into it. Before we know it, we just haven't accomplished anything. And so what I see often is agents don't get involved in their business quick enough and take serious action, and then they just lose motivation and interest in the business altogether. It will affect your personal life, and eventually you will go out of business, or you really will have never got into business. And so we need to take action around the things that are going to pursue obtaining customers and building our business. And this is extremely important. So stage one that I talked about last week, and I'll remind you of what that is, because this is extremely important stage, is what your morning routine is, because it sets you up for entering into stage two. So what I say is every day you start, you have to start in a positive way, and we have to rise early. So I don't have a clue what time you rise. I will tell you routinely, I rise at 5 a.m. That may be a little bit early for most people, but things that you have to realize is you have to be positive mindset and ready to tackle the world by the time 8 o'clock rolls around for stage two. You want to have enough motivation and energy to feel like you can conquer. In order for that to happen, you cannot just rise out of bed quick enough to quickly get dressed, prepared, and barely make it to the time clock on time. So rising early, relaxed, you should include some sort of exercise. Exercise will get your mind rolling in a positive way. Well, your spiritual time, and then do some sort of reading, or what I do is I watch YouTube videos that inspire me. I follow John Maxwell. What else? Zig Ziglar. Those sorts of things that really drive, inspires people. And if you feed yourself with that or something to educate yourself, all these things will start your day on the right track. I say that in order for you to accomplish all of these items, along with other things that you do in the morning, it's probably going to take an hour and a half to 2 hours of your time. So if you rise at 6, by 8, you should be ready to then dive into business. And by the time you've done all of this on a routine basis, you've set yourself, your mindset, in a mode to where you actually have the most willingness to do the next stage. And it's proven. So stage 2, generating new business opportunities. And these are the things that we do in this time period. So this time period is typically from 8 a.m. until noon. And the first thing, or there's 4 components to this. The biggest component and the biggest purpose of this is to find new business opportunities, or to take somebody that's potentially in the pipeline to do business with you and bring them closer to actually taking action with you and doing business. And it comprises of these 4 areas. One is skill practice. So I can tell you, we have a lot of, this is sort of in the sales organization, you have a lot of dialogue. It's all about being able to talk to somebody and persuading or influencing them that you're the best avenue for real estate services. In order for that to happen, you have to have conversations in an intelligent way, being able to share information, answer questions, show your level of skill, and that doesn't come without practice. We have a lot of dialogue that we share with you, depending on what methods that you might pursue in your business for getting customers, and we're going to talk about that throughout this presentation. But the biggest place that I see a pitfall is somewhat that someone's not willing to go out and make an effort in the beginning of their business to pursue a particular action to get customers, but they skip right over the skill practice part of it, and then their experience of doing it is absolutely a failure. And so they begin to believe that particular system isn't successful, it doesn't work, and then they begin to give up on it. And it's really because they didn't approach it correctly and they didn't do the skill practice part. And which we do have periodically from time to time within the office. We do live skill practice sessions and stuff like that. So if you haven't been involved in those, that might be another area that would be helpful for you. And if you need any of the dialogue throughout this presentation, I'm going to share it with you. Market updates. So for me, every day I went in and checked the MLS, and I kind of seen what new properties come on the market, what properties didn't succeed at selling and went off the market. You just have to be constantly informed of what's going on, what new properties and different things, so that when you talk to people out there and you have this knowledge and information, that it just shows your skill level is to a peak, because that's really what they're looking for. There are 2 things that a customer looks for when they make a decision to choose us. They want to know that we're trustworthy, and they want to know that we have the right level of knowledge. And that's the 2 main reasons that we get chosen or hired for our services. Skipping over prospecting, because I'm going to say track your results. So in any methods that we talk about this evening, it's important that you have a way, and we have charts, by the way, that you can print out, that you're tracking your results. Why do we want to track our results? Because we want to be able to continue to measure where opportunity is working for us and where it's not, or where we need improvements, and all of those things. So we have charts, and depending on the type of prospecting you're doing, there's actually boxes on it, and I don't have one in front of me, but you can, so what I did was I would put a line through it if I made an attempt to contact somebody, because I made so many attempts per day. And then if I actually spoke to somebody, I would put a line the other direction so it would look like an X. If I actually set an appointment, it would be a 0. I'd put a 0 in the spot. So I kind of knew by looking at the chart really quick what I did. I made X amount of calls, I talked to X amount of people, I made X amount of appointments. Understand the whole premise of this point and part of the day is to create appointments. You need to create appointments to create business. And so it's kind of a mathematical equation, because you're going to learn that you need so many leads that turn into so many appointments that turn into so many closed sales. It's a numbers game. But there is something to be said about the fact that as you skill up, so if you practice your skill set, the numbers get better and better in your favor, because the more skilled you are, the better you're going to be at converting your leads. So prospecting. So prospecting is, actually taking some sort of action to find or uncover customer opportunities and presenting yourself to them in hopes that you learn or earn the opportunity. And so that's a big deal during this, but those other three, skill, practice, market update, and tracking results, are all a component of this, because you're going to find that most of my discussions here forward are on the methods that you can obtain the customers, and pursue the opportunity for them. But these other three are very critically important too. You can't just go in and maybe make calls or go visit people. You need to track your results, be skilled, and then be on top of what's going on in your market. So when you have conversations, it can be done intelligently. So how do we find and connect with customers that need our services? Big question. So in my world, there are really basically 8 basic ways. There are so many other ways, and I might mention a couple of them at the end, but I'm going to go through the basic ones. You did print out the material, or at this point, if you have a sheet of paper in front of you, what I feel, whenever you make you're creating a business plan for yourself, you want to determine the opportunity a particular action will give you. And so what I'm going to talk about here is 8 methods, and in each one of these, I'm going to give you the pros and cons. And I think by noting down the pros and cons, this helps you gauge why you might pursue this particular method or might not pursue it. And I'm going to say this, I always do. There's no particular order to these methods. So I'm not favoring one over another. I have my favorites. But if you talk to another person that does an ultra big business, their favorites can be a totally different from mine. So there's no particular one that you should pursue just because I'm suggesting it. It's got to fit you, and sometimes it has to do with your personality or your passion and different things. So the first one here is purchase leads. So you can literally best income or best finance into buying leads. I put up on the screen 3 companies that are probably your biggest ones in the industry that will sell you leads. And so what happens with them is you buy into their program, you generally pay a monthly fee, and you base it on a particular geographical location. So they usually sell it by zip code, and then they attract consumers to their websites because they're ultra successful at the internet marketing concept. And then when consumers come on their website and they want to inquire on a particular property they saw, then they will provide that lead to you, and you're paying a fee to receive these leads. And so your job would then be to understand at a high level, a really skillful level, how to maximize your conversion ratio for the leads you get this way. So if you can kind of imagine, I'm going to talk about it now, if this was a method that you might consider, here's what are, in my belief, are the pros and cons. So you might want to write this stuff down. I'll try to talk long enough for you to do so. So the pros, they're inbound leads, which means that effectively in sort of a way, they're coming to you. The inquiries are made from the consumer back to the either the realtor.com or the Zillow, and then they're just forwarding that information to you. Now, you don't really have much to go on as far as what the quality is and such. Let me just finish talking about the pros. They're based on a market area, so you can pinpoint basically the area that you want the leads to come from. Assumably that the company has an opening for the area you want. You may be forced to take something in an area nearby where you ultimately want, because they only allow so many agents per zip code. And then the pro obviously is it does provide a business opportunity. It's still a lead. It's still someone that may do business with you. So that is a pro. Here's what I feel are the cons. It does require you to put forth a financial investment, and you don't really have a way to measure the return on your investment. I will say if you work them hard, you can convert enough to come out with a positive income. Um, they're not pre-screened, so I can't maybe answer this for all of those entities, but the majority of them, the leads are not necessarily pre-screened. So it could be somebody just killing time and going on a website and just generally ask a question, but they're not serious in the market. It doesn't matter whether they're serious or just looky loos, you're still paying for it. So you don't get a credit because they weren't serious. You are still paying for that lead. The majority of the leads are from these types of sources are buyer side leads. So it would be understanding that your preference or ideal customer may be on the buyer side. They generally they don't capture seller side leads too well. Understand that the product is the listing or the home for sale that is drawing their interest, is creating the lead to come to you. Um, in order for you to be effective with these, they command your instant attention. So I put that in the cons category only for this reason is, you could be sitting down or just sitting down at the dinner table and the lead comes in. If you do not give it instant attention, and we train you how to convert these leads at a high level. But one thing that you just have to do is no matter where you are, what you're doing, in order for you to effectively have an opportunity with these leads, you have to absolutely stop and attend to the lead immediately. If 5 minutes goes by, you lose almost 50% of the opportunity. 30 minutes go by, you may as well forget it. It's almost never going to happen at that point. So you have to be willing. It's sort of like a doctor on call. The hospital needs you there right away. You got to go right then, no matter what. So you are kind of being controlled by your time and not necessarily controlling your time with this type of lead generation. And it demands aggressive communication, in which I find most have an issue doing that, but you have to be very aggressive with your communication. So what happens with them these many times is the lead will come in and you'll instantly respond, but they don't answer the phone. It goes to their voicemail, um, and so you're not sure how valuable the lead is, but you just have to continue to pound on the opportunity to try to unsurface it. So that means that you would call, leave a voicemail, send a text, send an email, call, leave a voicemail, send a text, send an email, consistently day after day until they finally respond to you. At some point, and it might be, please stop contacting me. I'm not interested. Your only line of defense is you said you wanted some information, and I'm trying to give it to you. But if you don't, be aggressive with it, this is probably not a good solution for you as far as a business lead source or a lead source. So I'm going to talk a little bit further about how to get started if this was something you might be interested in. Obviously, it's about contacting the companies that provide these kind of services, and then let me see if I can move this down. But I want you to see that there's 3 companies that I show there. There are other companies out there, but these are probably your top 3 in the industry: Realtor.com and Zillow. and there's one that's kind of a newer product called Opcity. Opcity is a little bit different. It's actually owned by Realtor.com. And rather than you paying a monthly fee to get leads, you actually give them a percentage. So they'll pass leads to you at no cost. But if you close them, I believe the the compensation is 35% of the closed transaction commission would go to them. So it is an opportunity for you to generate leads without an expense up front. The other cool thing about Opcity, is the fact that they actually get the customer on the phone. They pretty much do all the upfront screening and prepping, and then they actually call you through an app, and then they pass the call right to you live. So it's a little bit more connected, but it is quite a bit more expensive. But you only have to pay if you close them. So it's got its pros and cons. But if you're interested, you need to contact these companies and inquire about their products and programs, and then you can make a decision from there. My advice is that you shop and compare, maybe ask other fellow agents, the pros and cons that they've seen, if they've ever used them. Get some feedback from others, and then also research and read reviews as well, to help you make a more competent decision of which company you might pursue to use for purchasing leads. Mastering the method. So these are just a couple tips. So it says address their requests, reasons for contacting you immediately. So they often contact by they're trying to get answers to a question or two, and so you should address their question and answer it correctly right away, and then pursue them for more opportunity to become their real estate agent. So that's tip one. Tip two, sell them on information they cannot get themselves. Understand that you can't just go and talk to them and say, well, can I just look up homes and send them to you? Understand that if they're using Zillow or Realtor.com, they effectively have the same database. It's the MLS database. So you're not gonna create an opportunity for them by just delivering information they've already got in front of them. You have to deliver information that they can't find in these websites. And there's some things that we teach you on that. If you look at the bottom of the screen here, it says, go to Ask Lexi, use keywords internet leads. That will give you access to our entire training program on how to convert at a high level if you choose to purchase leads. So we have a training program, which is your video and some documentation to help you do a high level conversion when you're working with leads that you purchase. But the idea is that you're going to have to call, text, email over and over and over again and command a response from them to hopefully at some point finally get them to respond to you. And then for sure, you absolutely need to use a CRM. We do have a lightweight CRM in our back office that's complementary to you. But you need to create a system where you're keeping notes and keeping a follow-up schedule for communicating with them ongoing, and keeping abreast to all of the actions that you've done so far during the process, and help you nurture that lead to hopefully a closed transaction at some point. We're going to go on to the next one. So this is kind of the format for each of the 8 methods that I'm going to. No one has spoke at this point. If anybody has any questions about this method, I would open the opportunity that you can ask the question now or comment on it. If not, I'm going to go on to the next one. I'm just going to assume everyone is hearing me since I'm the only one speaking.
Hey, Scott, it's Jerry. I have a question.
Yes.
Regarding purchasing leads, first, somebody, and I assume that perhaps some of the people on the call are newer agents. What type of cost would a plan, what type of cost or what type of budget would you recommend somebody put together for this portion of how for lead generation?
Okay, so that's a little bit of a tough question, but because I don't know all what their fee structures are, but here's what I do know.
Yeah.
They base the cost. They actually do research, and they know, for instance, in our market area, Trinity, zip code 34655, you would pay more to have an opportunity in that zip code versus 34654, because the homes are higher value. So those are things you need to understand. And then uh, um, if I just don't know how many leads you get, but I think you need to be getting from them to maybe get 2 or 3 closings. You need to get probably somewhere around 50 leads, 40 leads a month, and you might be able to turn 3 or 4 closings out of that. The industry average is only 2 to 4% conversion rate. If you follow our training program, you should be able to almost tap a 10% conversion rate, which means that for every 30 leads, you'd close 3 transactions. And so I'm thinking, I'm going to just kind of guess on average, they may tell you 30 leads a month is probably $500 or $600 in most communities or most zip codes, which is not a bad deal if you convert them. Some people don't feel like they have the money to risk without knowing whether or not they're going to work. Um, and so that's why I say maybe do some more investigating and learning, but I don't know all the actual costs because I really don't keep up on that. You may choose to try Opcity first to see how that can tap you in where you don't have an expense, and have an opportunity, though you know it's still an income without a cost. You only pay if it succeeds. Um, we do have agents that are doing the Opcity, and some of them actually love it, even though they're given essentially half of their commission back to between the brokerage and Opcity. There's at least they're still closing transactions and earning income. So
Thank you.
I don't know if I really answered your question, but I gave it a shot.
Scott, just one other thing about the buying the leads from Zillow. I did that for a couple of years.
Right.
So like if you get one at 1 o'clock in the morning and you're sleeping and you don't follow up on it, they'll give it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Even if it's 1 o'clock in the morning, they expect that you're going to follow it up, within like 10 or 15 minutes of getting it. So there's that too.
Yeah. And so there is, and this is what you need to also investigate. Each one of these companies have different programs. And what I probably not suggest you do is they actually have programs where they actually send the same lead to 2 or 3 agents simultaneously. So what you get is a lesser cost per month, but you're getting a shared lead. Well, it's just another situation where you have to be super quick. The other problem I feel with that is that consumer is getting 2 or 3 agents calling them within minutes of each other, and I just don't think that the perception of the consumer is very friendly to the fact that all these agents are instantly calling them. So if I were to make a suggestion investing into this kind of product, I would spend the extra money to get it what they would call exclusive leads, which means that they won't send them to other agents. They'll only send them to you, but you're paying double the money to have it exclusive versus shared. I don't think it's benefit or it's worth the investment to do a shared lead program. That's just my opinion. But Michelle's also correct. I think if a certain amount of time goes by, they then redistribute it. So there's really more than one agent in each zip code, but in the shared lead, they all get the lead that's on the shared program. If you're an exclusive, then they send only a lead to you, and then the next lead that comes in, they send only to the next agent in the same zip code. So you're not fighting over the same customer, presumably.
And that's exactly right. It's like a round robin. You're at the top of the list, and then you go to the bottom of the list if you're sharing the zip code. It's like with Zillow, you could buy all of 34655 or a half or a quarter or whatever, and then they sold the rest of it.
Yeah. And then there's another almost tool set that you could invest in. And I can't think of some of the names, but I can, it's probably in our training program, but you can actually create, there's services outside theirs where that they actually can pick the lead up as you're receiving it and automatically send a scripted text so that the customer is getting an instantaneous text from you, using certain tools in conjunction with the lead service. So, I think if you were, choosing this as a serious way of getting business and getting customers, you'd probably benefit from investing into those kind of tools as well. I have the information reference. I can't think of the names of some of them. One's called Follow Up Box, but there's another one that actually will send instantaneous text. So you're responding within 3 or 4 seconds, but it's all automated. And at least it gives you that instantaneous response to them. And then you can follow with a call right behind it. But I think if you look up the material in our back office under Internet Leads, I think all that information is in that material. So any other questions or statements on purchasing leads? Okay, I'm moving on. So another method would be networking and volunteering. This is, I think, something that most all of us could do. There's some things to know about it, but networking and volunteering, that there's some give back to the community. Some of the networking is just business people referring each other. Some is kind of doing both. Chambers kind of do both. So there's just a gamut of opportunities out there, and it's a viable way. I don't think it's the only single solution to getting leads, but it can be. And I have actually, gives me the privilege to speak about the actually founding owner of our brokerage, which is Bob Memley. He's about to retire, but it's been almost his sole source of getting business as a real estate agent. But he's in a ton of different groups and stuff like that. So he's an expert at it. If anybody wants to know who to ask, it would be him. But here's the pros and cons that I feel about networking and volunteering as a strategy for getting customers. The pros are they become what I call your sphere of influence or circle, which is a critically important way of getting businesses is through your sphere of influence, but they become acquaintances to you. Another pro is, they should and will eventually probably do business with you. They can refer business to you. And I feel that it's always a feel good thing that we're out there helping a cause or giving back to our community, and supporting it. Cons, there will be a time commitment to be involved. And then many times you'll also have a financial contributions. In some organizations, those two can be bigger than in others. So I think it is about doing some research and finding, what fits for you specifically, how to get started. And it's just basically brainstorming your passions and investigating organizations. It should serve two purposes. One is serving whatever its purpose is, but also giving you business opportunities. If it's only that you get serving out of it, no business opportunities, maybe it's just not the right one. It should do both. And there are probably other organizations that have similar cause, but maybe would be a better fit for you for business purposes, or maybe just the people that are in the organization. So it might take some testing and scouting to find what's best. And it can be things also like, you know, clubs where you play golf with buddies and stuff. It's networking and volunteering. So tips would be, will it serve a passion in my business? It should serve both. And there is a time, is the time and financial commitment feasible? Some things could create too much of a requirement or a commitment, and other things might take too much financial. It's just, trying to find the right one's the right fit, a feel good place as well. Mastering the method. You can go in the back office and again use the keyword and Ask Lexi called networking. But here's what I have to say, and I kind of learned this from Bob and Emily, is if you want to really get a lot from this type of prospecting, you need to probably seek and accept opportunity of some sort of leadership role within that organization, so that you're become a larger component or go-to person. You cannot go into these groups and stuff like that and kind of be the person that stands in the back corner. You have to be out there really mingling with people. And if you can't do that, maybe this is not a method for you. And I'll be honest with you. You get me in a room with a bunch of agents, and I'm really good about speaking. I feel very confident. If I get in a room with just politicians or other various business people, I'm not as outspoken. It's just who I am. So I don't do personally as well in an environment like that, or I don't feel like I create enough impact to help myself in that environment. Though you can acquire and learn to do that, but that would be the only way. I mean, if you're just there to pay your dues and attend the meeting, but you're not pushing the envelope to mingle and really grind to get to know people and pull them in your sphere of influence and create opportunities, then it's not going to probably work really well for you as far as business purposes. You need to get connected with the most magnetic or influential people. So if you walk into a room where there's networking going on, it typically don't take you too long to acknowledge the people that seem to get all the attention or that everyone wants to talk to. Those are the people that you should want to talk to, because those are the ones that know the most. And in your business, what your first priority is to find out how you can reach as many people as you can possibly reach, and share what you do and the opportunities that you provide consumers. And that's by getting connected with people that know a lot of people that can help you make that happen. So you want to be very involved with the most influential people in the crowd. And so the other thing is, you need to, try to find a way to mingle outside of the groups, meetings, and activities, because it's not really, in a lot of cases, most appropriate in some types of groups. If it's a business networking group, it's different. But if it's a kind of more on the volunteer side, let's say Habitat for Humanity or something like that, you may, just try to, um, set aside an opportunity to take, somebody else to lunch or something and get to know them more, and then work on that mingling about business opportunities, and not necessarily, try to sell it really hard while you're doing the activities with them in the meetings and stuff like that. I think there's a small amount of that they need to know who you are, what you do, but most of that occurs, maybe mingling outside, and then social media. So again, as you're trying to build your audience and people that know you and see what you do and um, respect your abilities and stuff like that, everywhere when you meet new people is try to come back behind that and connect with them through your social media. Maybe you haven't really set your social media up yet, but that's an incredible tool. It's very valuable to the business that we do. And so you really need to put some focus on that part of it. But it's about connecting with them in the real world and then also bringing them online and connecting or socializing with in your social media as well. Anybody have anything to add or questions about that? Okay. So digital online networking, expand your opportunity. So I just spoke about this. Invite your offline connections with you online. Tips for that is search and request to connect. And then it's about creating, and sharing content that lets your audience know to get to know you a little bit as a person, and then that they learn that you're an expert in your field, and then anywhere you can provide value add content. Um, that's an environment that's changing constantly, but I can tell you when you can share a little bit so they kind of know you a little bit closer. But the big one is learn that you're an expert in real estate. So we often post or share stuff we find somewhere else. But if you can be a little bit more of the author or the presenter of information, then you're the one they're going to look to as the expert. If you're just resharing content that was obtained somewhere else, you're providing them value, you're sharing value of somebody else's content. But when you're providing the content, now you're providing and sharing your personal expertise, and that's what's going to build the opportunity much, much quicker, that you're the one that knows it and that they would want to do business with. So think about that. We do have an immense amount of learning material if you use the keywords Facebook in the back office. We are also working on a couple new pieces of courseware to teach you some of the changes that are going on in that particular space, to keep you up to date and on a cutting edge. Um, and it can be, what you may learn something today. It doesn't matter when you learned it. If you know it and you learned it today and you can speak about it, you're not necessarily being dishonest, but it's something you know. And as you learn things, if you can share that out or show it in your expertise, then again, you're building visibility to yourself as somebody that's an expert in the industry. And if you follow me a little bit, um, on social media, which most of you do now, and you'll see I put a little bit of content that has different tips and stuff. It's really speaking to you as real estate agents, but I do have agents, kind of all over the world and a lot throughout Florida that kind of follow me, and they see me as an expert in understanding how to help a real estate agent. So I use that same concept that I'm teaching you to use for the information that buyers and sellers would appreciate knowing, to show that you're an expert in what you're doing, for the services they would need. Hopefully that all makes sense. Anything else to add or questions about this? Okay. So number 3, so you could, make a decision to either join a real estate team or try to work closer with an existing agent that's been in the business a while, is established. This would be a really valuable way for somebody newer in the business to really move forward quickly. Is get situated like that. And here's the pros and cons of this. So if you were to say, hey, Scott, we have a team in the organization that might be looking for another member. I'd be interested in interviewing with them. um, that's an opportunity, and this is kind of what the pros and cons are. The pros, it would help you, learn the business, probably excel that a little bit quicker. You're going to learn through a lot of the stuff that I'm educating you with, and Dan and Greg and Therese, and our videos and our reading materials. But it gives you a little bit different environment because maybe you're more hands-on when you're working side by side in the field with somebody. um, they often, a team, when they acquire a team member, they're the team lead is usually the one that's the expert, the one that's generating the customers, and they just have such a strong business that they really need members of their team to take some of those leads that they generate and service them. So it provides you leads. It's another way that maybe could be instrumental in increasing your income or getting income into your pocket a little bit sooner than taking the avenue of doing it without having a team member. And it will increase it can increase your annual income. There's a gamut of ways that teams are constructed, and I'm not going to go into that conversation here, but sometimes it's equal partnerships. Other times it's a team lead, and then they'll get different types of members for their team. They may get a buyer's agent, a transaction coordinator, a listing agent, just different things. And then they may, choose to have splits different ways on the leads that the team lead provides versus leads you get on your own. So again, there's no one way. There's a gamut of different ways that a team could be constructed and how they decide they, run, and how team members, what expectations they would have of team members on their team. Cons, ultimately, as an agent, you would probably expect to be receiving less per transaction commission, which means that in addition to the commission that's split with the brokerage, you're probably going to be sharing some of that compensation or the commission with the team leader or the team. So you're not getting all of it, it's shared out with part of the team. Any questions about that? Okay, how to get started? It's really simple. You just need to contact the teams that we have in the organization and maybe ask if they're accepting members, and if so, then set up an interview. We have, I would say, probably about a half a dozen teams in our company, and some of them may be on the radar to accept additional members. So tips, be prepared to, if you're meeting with them, it's the same as going on a business interview, a job interview. And so you'd want a resume, you would want to be able to talk intelligently for yourself to give you that opportunity. So you would need to try to sell yourself, your commitment to working hard, learning, and being a team player. Those are the things that they would be looking for. This business is still hard work, and you can't expect to go be on a team and set aside and just wait for them to give you a lead. It's a little more than that. You need to be, willing to participate closely and be a full team player with the entire team. Be willing to learn, expose what you're learning, still trying to learn outside of the team environment, and all of those things. Um, Here's some other kind of an offbeat of that, helping another agent. So this is sort of a cool opportunity if you have no listings. Most of our agents in our brokerage that have listings would provide you an opportunity to host open house on the listings that they have. So you don't have to have listings. We can, we can get you set up almost any weekend you want with the opportunity to do open house. And the thing about doing this is there's almost zero of the agents that would expect to receive any of the compensation if you had acquired a buyer at the open house on the listing that you're hosting for them. So any buyers that walk through that door while you're there, they become your exclusive clients to serve, and you would get your full commission for serving them. So it's a cool opportunity. It's you're sort of helping an agent, but you're really helping yourself as well acquire leads. Open houses are a very lucrative opportunity to get leads. They're very fairly low cost. There is some things that you need to do, and I'm not going to go into detail again, but it's a good opportunity. It is an opportunity where generally the people are coming to you, and so you're right in front of them, and you have a much stronger opportunity to sell yourself when you're standing in front of somebody rather than just talking to them on the phone. So how would you go about this? You could put a post in our company social media asking if anyone has a listing that you could do an open house for. That's one of the ways. You could just look for the inventory that the company has and maybe specifically pick a home in a neighborhood that you have desirability for, and actually calling the agent and asking them if there's an opportunity to host the open house. What they want to know is that you're trained to do so. So if you go in our back office under Ask Lexi, you can use the keywords open house, and you're going to get all of our open house learning material. There's scripts and step by step of planning the open house so you get the biggest amount of consumers through the doorway. And it's all going to help you. But once you've done that, then you certainly would want the agent to know that you did take the training, so you will be able to do a good job for them, that you'll try hard to find the buyer, and that you'll take pride in securing the home at the end. And then you'll follow up, because it's very important that you follow up, because you can assume that there's sellers calling them and saying, so how did the open house go? And so you want to proactively share all that information with the actual listing agent so that they can contact the buyer, or I'm sorry, the seller, before the seller contacts them and provide the information. And then another tip that I would always say is send a thank you card to that agent for the opportunity, because then you're setting yourself up to almost automatically get another opportunity from them, because you are a proactive agent and helping them. So any questions about that? So there is a way to help a listing agent without being on the team and getting free leads, and that would be to do open houses. Okay, number 4, marketing and advertising. So this is a general thing that most business owners would do to try to build their business and expose their business and create opportunities, is marketing and advertising. Marketing and advertising goes, hopefully it targets your desired customer. Hopefully it generates, leads, warm leads, and they're by general are inbound leads, meaning that, assumably the person that saw your marketing or advertising appreciated what the message was, and it caused them to reach out to you and ask you about your product or service. And that's the pros. The cons, there's commitment of time in creating content for the marketing and advertising, and then there's for sure a financial risk, because most marketing and advertising some exposure at a zero cost, but to truly get a dramatic amount of marketing and advertising, there's usually a financial cost behind it. How to get started. determine your target customer and create a message that solves their problem or need. And that's really the magic behind marketing. And so you who do you want as a customer? What kind of buyer or what kind of seller? At what financial level? Um, is what is it you're looking for? And then, how do you attract them through some sort of marketing or advertising? You need to speak out and put something in front of them that solves a need or a problem for that type of customer. And that's typically what draws them. I am not here to claim that I am a marketing expert or an advertising expert. There are people that do that kind of business, and sometimes it might be, might be best to outsource that particular thing or get some outside assistance from somebody that's an expert at that. You can, again, do so much on social media that might bring opportunity to, fairly low cost. I will say that Facebook is a huge opportunity in a cost factor because you can drill down to a very, very specific customer that you're looking for with all the demographics that it provides. And so for the cost per ad or cost per ad that a consumer that might be the perfect customer for you is exceptionally cheap compared to almost anything on the planet. So if I were making a suggestion, it would be something in Facebook as far as where you would maybe push your marketing dollars to try to find that customer that you're looking for. And I'll give you some of the power of what information they have about consumers. If you make so a couple things here, in order for you to make ads on Facebook, you can't do it with a personal account. You have to have a personal account and you have to have a business page. Only those that have business pages can actually spend money and create ads. But when you create an ad and you start setting up who sees my ad, because when you create your business page, you tell them I'm a real estate agent. When you start to make ads, it says, oh, you're a real estate agent. Would you like to put your ad in front of somebody that was just recently on realtor.com or Zillow? If you're seeking buyers, that would be a yes answer. But that's how deep the information that they have on people currently is. You can truly put your ad only in front of people that were just recently on Zillow or realtor.com. And so you can get that far targeted down. And it's pennies on the dollar compared to most types of advertising. So there's a lot of opportunity there. But that is something that I'm not going to claim to be an expert at. It will take a little bit of research. And then there are people that have more expertise that could probably guide you in a deeper way. But marketing and advertising is always one of the ways. Mastering this method, I've already said this, hire an expert or service that specifically understands real estate lead generation and marketing. Be willing to beta test your marketing and measure the results. Social media, okay, so live video is going to get the most attention. So there is a method in Facebook to what, if you were doing self-promotion, if you went Facebook Live versus video versus still image versus text. Live is about 100 times more, going to get about 100 times more visibility than anything else that you do. And I don't know if you're on here today because you saw my live, but I'm only recently been brave enough to do lives myself. But in order for me to make things happen, I have to be willing to do what it takes. And so I will do Facebook Live videos now. I think that's a mistake at the bottom where it says use keyword networking. I don't think that's correct. It would be the Facebook as far as any social media marketing, but I don't really have anything in the back office to help you with marketing and advertising. If you wanted to ask me questions now or off to the side in another time, I'd be happy to try to guide you. That's what we're here for, but I'm giving you some basics here. Anybody have any questions at this point?
Scott, anybody you'd recommend for if you were looking at hiring an expert? Any companies that stand out that either you or someone on the part of the Florida luxury team have used?
I can't think of anything, and I think it would be dependent on what you want to do. Like, if you want to do social media, I'm not quite sure. Um, I do have some potential connections for that. You know, if it were postcards or other things, we do have some connected things in the back office. We have um, there's a section in our back office. If you go to the top menu, it'll say quick links. And when you go in there, there's a marketing section, and there's companies that do marketing pieces for real estate industry. They can do what they call postcard campaigns, where they send progressive postcards to certain communities, and there's a lot of that kind of stuff. As far as social media, we've been just internally, we've been talking to a few different people that we've seen as more of experts, and we're kind of putting together our own material. I don't know that the people that we're talking to actually do it as a business. They do it kind of for themselves. Um, and there's going to be entities out there. If you want to know, the only one source that might be a source for that would be a website called Fiverr.com, and I think that's Fiverr.com. And it's basically a website that hosts freelancers that do things such as marketing on social media. I can't proclaim to who's good to deal with or not, but people do get rated for their service on there. So if you see somebody in there with 300 or 400, you know, have been rated 300 or 400 times and they have a 5 rating, then they're probably a good person to deal with. And what's really cool about that is it's relatively inexpensive, at least entry level, to get started and kind of test the waters, I guess, as far as trying out social media marketing, if that would help you.
Thanks.
Welcome. Okay, bonus opportunity. I like giving you these bonus opportunities. So for those that do not know, and Greg in our office just did a video and he posted in our social media post a couple days ago. But we do have a tool in our back office called Smart. And this tool really is amazing because it creates posts, automatically creates posts for you to push into social media that send consumers to landing pages and captures them and puts their information into your CRM, sends it by text message and by email. If you were to take, 10 listings and you don't have to have the listings, if you contact agents in our brokerage that have listings and ask for permission, it has to be in writing and there's a form for it, and they give you the right, then you can actually promote their listings in social media and collect leads. And there's no cost to this whatsoever. And so we have agents that do, try to do this faithfully every morning and every evening. And they're collecting leads every week and they're paying nothing for them. They're just spending a few minutes of their time twice a day to push the ads. And I'm not going to go into detail, but the only way to truly make this work is you have to join in Facebook. You have to join enough groups to push the ads into to get the big exposure. Once again, there's no cost behind it. It takes little bit of your personal labor to do it twice a day, but it is another way to get business without spending money. There is a video on teaching you how to use it that Greg just put out. So, okay. Number 5, the for sale by owner. I mean, it's pretty obvious that we have somebody out there that's trying to do what we do, and they're trying to sell their home, so we can identify a customer opportunity for sure here. The pros and cons, the leads are free. It's just a matter of just looking in the right websites, and they don't charge you for these leads. They're visible to you. And one of the biggest ones that I think is most viable is called Zillow.com. And there's several for sale owners posted on there. And you can, obtain these leads or phone numbers, whatever you need to be able to contact them free of charge. There's new ones posted pretty much every day. So there's new opportunities every day. It can be now business or near future business. And really cool is that you can choose your business. What I mean by that is the fact that you can pick whether or not you want to make an opportunity with that particular homeowner based on whatever, maybe be based on location, based on price point, based on the look of the house. I don't know, but you can choose your business. And I like to say that because some of the things that, when you get a lead from, if you buy leads from Zillow, you don't necessarily get to choose which ones you get. You get the ones they send you. Obviously, they're based on a particular zip code, and you can presumably believe that they fit the dynamics of that zip code, but you're still not choosing your customer. When you get a referral or an opportunity through networking, you're really not picking your business. You're accepting what comes to you. This, you can actually pick your business. Cons are competing for business, and it demands you'd have skills to convert them. Competing for business, I will have to say, is probably not as prevalent as what you may believe, because there is just a very few agents that are out there pursuing for sale by owners. And I could probably, well, it may not be a fair statistic, but I think there's 7 or 8 of us here on the webinar. How many of you pursue for sale by owners on a consistent basis? If there's 7 or 8 of us, anyone? Okay, 1. Okay, so 1 out of 8. That's like 12%. That's probably a high number in reality, but that means out of 8, 7 don't or haven't. Let's put it that way. However, you can identify them. They need to sell their home, and that's what you do. And so I find it difficult to understand why we wouldn't make sure every one of these knows we exist, who we are, what we do, and how we do it. It's what we do. This is our business. So this was one of my favorites as a real estate agent. And I would, if I were doing the business today, there wouldn't be one that I would normally choose that wouldn't know I exist, and that I wouldn't push for an opportunity. There's no other way to get this business unless they know about you and that you make an effort. So there's different ways you can do it. So how do I get started pursuing for sale by owners? This is some area that does for sure need to have the practice of the skills. You need to have the skills at speaking with them, and commit to taking action and speaking with them. And so we have all the dialogue. Um, it's in there. It's to be um, when I say scripts and I talk about them often, there is a thing about being authentic and making sure the same messages are coming out from what you need to say and the questions you need to ask, but it needs to be done in your own way. So there will be some tweaking to any scripts that you may pursue in using or practicing and using in your business, because you need to speak the way you speak. But the questions and the concept of it and the dialogue still has to be a part of it. It's just a huge opportunity. Tip, you must use a CRM just like anything else. Once you get so many leads, you need to have a way to manage them and know when to do the next follow-up and stuff like that, and that's what a CRM provides you. For sale by owner, how to master the method. Skill build to become an expert at FSBO appointment setting. So here's some tips. The telephone is a fast, effective way for setting meet and greet appointments. You need to also skill build your listing appointment presentation, because when you go present, generally to somebody that's a for sale by owner, you're still a stranger to them. It's not like presenting to somebody that you went to a networking group for 8 months with, and they say, "Well, come and show me how you sell my personal home." They've already got a personal connection with that person, and so it's a much different level than if you actually pursued a FSBO and made an appointment, and the appointment turned into a listing appointment really quick. They still don't know you. They don't have any true knowledge of your character and your integrity and all that good stuff. And so you have to have you have to be really skilled at your presentation so that you can really sell the features and benefits of choosing you and the company and all the things that you do. You need to embrace a systematic process for converting the FSBOs to listings. Follow up often and continue building yourself as a trusted and knowledgeable professional. So FSBOs, here's really the scoop on FSBOs. For sale by owner, obviously they're doing it. The majority are doing it themselves for the purpose of, and in their world, they believe they're going to come out of it if they close the transaction and find their own buyer, financially more wealthy. The fact of the matter is they actually come out of it financially less wealthy. And so here's some statistics to write down is 9 out of 10 for sale by owners, 9 out of 10 will list with a real estate agent before they sell. So 9 out of 10 will fail at selling themselves, and to sell, they'll list with a real estate agent. So if you talk to 10 and start to work with 10, 9 of those could be a customer that will actually list through you, sell through you. Statistically, the other one, the 10th one, the only one that sells themselves, sells their property for 85% of the amount that a real estate agent can sell the same property for. So if that be fact, which the numbers are in a product through our MLS called IMAP. So if you go into IMAP can let you look up for sale by owners. And when you do the research, you'll find that if a house was listed by a real estate agent, sold for $100,000, and the same house sold by the owner themselves sold for $85,000, which means that if you charge 6% to help somebody sell their house, that means after 6%, they get 94% they're 9% ahead. They're 9% more wealthy by allowing you to do the work, you to provide protection for them and all of that. So this is a huge opportunity. And so it's easy to find them. And then with the right skill set, it's relatively easy to convert them. The other thing that you need to know is you can't expect them to say yes immediately. A for sale by owner will resist an agent that pushes hard on them to list until they've determined in their own mind they cannot do it themselves. So they have to kind of come to that conclusion before you have that opportunity. And so you may present yourself to them and start building the rapport, building the relationship, building the connection, and continuing to follow up on that opportunity. And then there'll be a right time to pull the trigger because they have now determined in their own mind that we realize we can't do it ourselves. We need somebody like you, and you're at the top of the list. And so you have that opportunity to list that property, but you cannot go in and force yourself on them and expect them to give you a listing or list the property with you until they've determined in their own mind or realize in their own mind that they really can't do it themselves. Um, if you don't do it that way and push yourself on them, they're going to push you right out the door, and they won't want any communication with you again. And that's what most agents do. That's where the agents typically make the mistake. They want to feel that they can instantly convert them, and they push themselves hard. They get a pushback, and then they don't get that opportunity, and then they don't follow up. And so you have to be willing to have a follow-up schedule, willing to communicate often and massage that relationship, and then understand and find the right point to pull the trigger to get that business. But you can make a huge income off of for sale by owners if you follow a good schematic. And if you use a keyword in the back office called FSBO, you will get, all the answers and secrets on how to do those. Any questions about FSBOs, for sale by owners? Okay. Expired listings. Okay, so expired listings, they're a product of their own, very similar in the respective of the FSBOs in these ways. The pros, the leads are free again. There's new leads daily. It's now business or near future, and you can choose your business. So all of the same pros as a FSBO, and the same cons, but there's a fundamental difference between a FSBO and expired. A lot of similarities and one fundamental difference. So how do I get started? Practice the skills of speaking with the prospect. You got to be skilled up. And I'll just tell you personally, for me, when I first was introduced to being a real estate agent, I'm licensed. I'm now joined a company, and asking my broker, okay, what do I do? I need customers. They hand me a list and say, go knock on these doors and talk to these people. They didn't sell their home, and I'm like, what? I'm like, I don't know about that. I had no confidence in any ability to do that. I had no desire. It was the last thing on earth I wanted to do. But there was a tipping point where I realized that, if I want to be most successful at this business, I got to take action. I got to do stuff that needs to be done that gets me in front of people that need my services. And so I had to convince myself and then become committed to taking that action. And it did not come easy. And for the first 150 doors, it was brutal. I wanted to give up every time I started to walk to the door. but I didn't give up. And I didn't get anything for many, many, many of those until I went back and I started to practice what I needed to say. And that was the magic of the whole thing. And then when I started getting yeses, and then I improved upon what I was doing, I practiced again and practiced again. And then I got it to a science, and I got it down to about 1 out of 20 people that I could talk to that was an expired or FSBO. I was listing that property, which was a really good number, because I built an empire of over 50 active listings, and I never bought an ad, never bought a lead, never paid for marketing. I just talked to people that needed my business, needed my service. And it was a gold mine, and it still is. So you need to practice the skills. You need to use a CRM. The number one way is of this. It's still probably door knocking. Here's the fundamental difference between the expired and the FSBO. In all respects, are almost identical. But an expired listing is somebody that was willing to hire an expert to serve them, but it did not work out. Something went wrong. It didn't sell. It became an expired. So they need to be reassured that you're not just like the listing agent they had. You're something different. You're a bigger opportunity. But the deal is here is you do go in with the idea that you're going to convert them right then, right now, and put them right back on the market, because they were already willing to hire somebody. They were already willing to put it up for sale with that person, that agent. And so why take it off the market? And that's really the job you have, is to say, you don't want to take this off the market now. You're going to be invisible to, potentially the perfect buyer that enters the market tomorrow. And so, in the dialogue, in the objection handling, that's the message. And so it's a lot different than a FSBO, because a FSBO has to realize they can't do it themselves before they'll hire you. Where these, an expired, they were willing, they just had a bad experience. And so you need to get them over the hump that they shouldn't stop, and you need to get them over the hump that you're not just like the other agent they may have had, and you're a better opportunity. You'll get it done. So this was probably my favorite, because I don't like patience. I like to get in there and get it going and get it done. And so expired listings gave me that opportunity. Then we have a huge learning material on expireds in the back office. If you go to Ask Luxie and just type in expired, it'll give you all the detail.
Hey, Scott, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Is there a difference? I'm sure there is, but I noticed like a neighborhood next to mine, a listing doesn't say expired, it says listing removed. I know it could be a number of reasons, but how often do you see a listing removed as opposed to a listing expired?
Well, listing, I don't know it in the term of listing removed. I know term of withdrawn,
Okay.
prematurely coming off the market. And it could be for various reasons. So I will tell you in my experience that most of the times the reason is there's just something went wrong between the listing agent and the seller, and the seller says, I want to cancel my listing.
Mm-hmm.
And so then there's two categories of withdrawn. There's conditional and unconditional. Unconditional means that there's no existing obligations still remaining to the listing brokerage. Conditional suggests that there's still conditions tied to the original listing agreement, even though they've withdrawn it from the market, which means there may be still some entitlement to the listing, the that withdrew it. If that owner was to sell the property probably up and through the original listing date. But here's what I, learned in doing it. I pursued all three: expired, withdrawn, conditional, withdrawn, unconditional, all as if they were the same. They're now off the market. You have full privilege to talk to anyone that's not currently with an active listing. So you're not breaking any ethics. You're free to pursue. And what I found was even the withdrawn conditional, almost as if the realtors just marked it that way in an effort to try to persuade agents to, kind of stay their distance from pursuing that homeowner. But they really didn't have any conditions. And so that's why I just ignored the whole thing and went at them. And then there was and so some of the things were, maybe, just a change of circumstances in the seller's household that caused them to have to take the home off the market. I don't, there can be various reasons why somebody changes that they're and decides they're not going to sell their home, and occasionally that would be the case, but the majority, I'm gonna say like 75% of the time, a withdrawn was just a homeowner that was unsatisfied with the agent or the brokerage that they had the home listed with, and they prematurely canceled the listing agreement.
Perfect, thanks.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. And I'm happy to answer questions on these because I believe in them so much. I just, I don't speak for what any of you do, but I can say this. Does anyone here not want to list property?
The name of the game.
Does anyone here not want to list property? Nobody speaks
Of
up.
course.
Okay.
We business
So
property.
if you know somebody, there's an opportunity, why wouldn't we go put ourselves in front of it? And I know why, because I'm going to talk about it. But that's the thing that you have to change in your mindset, and it's rejection and confidence, fear of rejection and confidence. Your ability to believe that you're not capable of getting that business, and I'm gonna prove that wrong. All right, let's go on. So here we go. Number 7, promote you everywhere you go. So I got some pictures up here. So promote you everywhere you go. So what I'm suggesting here is everywhere you are out in public and when you interface with people, it could be the cashier at the grocery store, the person standing from you at the grocery store, it could be the waitress or waiter at the restaurant, it could be the fellows across the way when you're pumping gas. It could be the owner of the property when you step up into his garage to attend his garage sale. It could be the person on the treadmill next to you at the exercise room. Is engaging with people, have conversations, and then expose that you're a real estate agent, and offer to have some conversation with them. It's what you need to do. I am not here to say that you should work 24/7, but you can uncover some opportunities by just having a quick, small conversation and seeing where it might lead to an opportunity. This business is a people business by nature and a relationship building business. And so you need to be willing to, you know, especially if you're having conversations and haven't been talking about real estate, that you bring it up in some fashion and then offer your card. Um, it it will lead to, here's the deal. If you did, 2 or 3 of these different ways, and each one of them gave you 4 or 5 opportunities, collectively you would have, 25, 30 deals a year. 25, 30 deals a year on an average price range, that's over a six-figure income. But if you bottleneck and only pick one, or you don't find your way to taking all the opportunities, then you're selling yourself short of what could be. And I can tell you there's multiple stories, especially after I talked to this particular screen, where agents made that opportunity, they come back and tell me some of the opportunities that provided them. And it goes even further. Throughout my career when I was selling, and this is why I say keep tabs on what what presented you opportunities. You'll find that that one cashier or that one person that was in front of you in the checkout line that you cracked a conversation with, that said, "Oh, my daughter's looking for a home," and then you make that happen, and then that daughter tells her friend, and you got a deal there, and then her friend's mother needed a home because she's moving from Nebraska to Florida. That's when it's really cool, because you'll find that you made one small conversation and you have six transactions that occurred from that conversation. And to realize, if you would have never stood up and had that small talk, those would be all gone and erased and would never have been existing in your space. And that's why I say it. I'm not presenting the fact that you work 24/7 and actually try to tell you to do the opposite, but it doesn't take much. And if you have a little bit of passion about this business, you might love to share and give value and tell people, especially if you're giving them a valuable tip that helps them make better decisions. That's when it's amazing. And so one of the things, we give you a name badge. And so imagine, not even, sometimes you wouldn't even have to talk about it if you just wore your name badge and just said, "This is part of my outfit all the time." And you're standing in the grocery line, people may even inquire with you, "Hey, I see you're a real estate agent," and they want to ask you a question. And especially when I said every morning that you try to keep up with your market, and then how's the market? Blah 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 blah. Well, let me tell you, blah, 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 blah. It's just, that's what's going to give you opportunity, is just talking to people, but kind of making sure that they know what your career is and what you do. And it's not all about just absorbing every minute of your day doing this, but this is what you need to do. And it's gonna mean many thousands of dollars as you sell real estate, course of your time doing this. So um, pros: unsurface new business opportunities, grow your relationships in your audience, influence opportunity, generates additional income. Cons: there is none, folks. There's zero. I couldn't figure out any. If you want to tell me what you think one might be, I don't know what it would be. But how to get started. There is a thing about, how do you crack a conversation with somebody that's, just standing around you in a public place. For me, it's just maybe commenting on something, that they're wearing, or something in the vicinity, and using that as an opener, and then leading that into speaking briefly about real estate. But I'm not an expert at it, but there are, and I'm saying here, search and watch YouTube videos on the subject of how to open conversations with people in public. And I already gave you this tips: wear your name badge often, have business cards in your pocket. And then I say, and this is something I did for sure, and if I should, share with you a picture of my last real estate vehicle. I had 100% wrap car. It was a rolling billboard, folks. And I got so much business from a one-time investment. But as you think about the fact that you're driving down major arteries or major roadways, people have no clue. They're just another car going down the road. If you were to take $50 and put these magnetic signs on your doors, people now see an ad that, we talked about advertisement. It's about the cheapest advertisement you can buy. And I have stories where people, almost ran down the road to catch me in my car because they were looking for me. And it's because I had signs on my car offering to tell people what I do and how I do, my services in real estate. So you need to, think about how you can expose um, to people. I have a famous saying: you don't want to be a secret agent. So people need to know, and there's some very, economical ways to help you broadcast that you're in real estate without a lot of expense, and these are some of them. Mastering this method, find some, I think I meant something about them or their surroundings to comment on, to engage a conversation and navigate them into the topic of real estate. Leads to sharing about local real estate market, share a recent success story in your business, just that kind of thing. And it won't take you long to, kind of pick up a way to comfortably do that. But it's important. This is what you do. This is your business, and this is a critical way of making things happen for yourself. I can trust me. One one good conversation can be, tens of thousands of dollars. We get paid well when we get paid. It's a lot of work in between our pay, and so we got to make all the efforts we can. And that's engaging with people and sharing it. Anybody have any questions about this? How are we doing on time? Hey, wow. All right, let's move into number 8 pretty soon here. Here's another bonus, I guess. Farming a community. So farming is kind of a method of its own, but I just said get out and communicate and share yourself. So, this would be an area of that. Be involved in communities you want opportunity. So, it's important that you try to find communities that you might have bigger interest in, and you'll make determinations of why you have bigger interest in those communities. Maybe it's a passion that you'd love to live there yourself, or it's luxury homes, or whatever it might be. And so when you find those communities, then these are ways you can invest more opportunity in them. And it would be such as open houses. So you might find an agent of the brokerage that has a listing in there, and you can host your open house yourself on their listing. So that's giving you an opportunity to be in there. And early on in the business, we always say go out and preview active homes. So preview all the active homes, the expireds, and visit the expireds, visit the FSBOs. Volunteer to help with projects and events in that community. Attend events, attend open houses, attend yard sales. Just do whatever you can to be in there and be involved. And this is where having the car signs, even real higher value, especially in a community that if you're in and out all the time, in which I had a few communities personally that I was, because I was going to tackle and be a bigger entity in those for real estate. And that's one of the things I made sure is that I had my advertisements on my vehicle, to the point where people, got to know me just from driving around and seeing my car all the time. To learn more about farming specifically, you can go in the back office, use the keyword farming. And a couple of our top agents in the brokerage, their business model is around farming. They do farm areas in a big way. Any questions about that? are on number 8, and I'm sure we are tackling almost 9 o'clock. So I guess my timing is okay. But sphere of influence. So sphere of influence are people you already know, and you want to feed them for business opportunities. And why would we do that? They already know and trust you. People you know, I mean, think about it. They want to help you. And so they're a huge opportunity, a huge resource. It, and they're going to need to know a few things before they're willing to help you. And we're going to talk about those in a minute. But they're easy to close. You don't have to sell on them. They already know you, they already trust you, and so it's a pretty soft and easy opportunity. That through a source of sphere of influence, you could build your success quickly if you happen to know enough people. Most agents, this is the only method that they work off is sphere of influence, and they don't pursue enough different ones, and they do mediocre business, but the majority of the industry is by referral, and so referral is generally through your sphere of influence, and it will secure additional income. If you can see there, I have no cons. There's no cons. So in my world, your sphere of influence is one of your methods in every one of our business, for all of us. And then we need to choose probably 2 others in addition to this. So you want to have 3. So how to get started. And so what you need to do, and depending on how many contacts you have, you need to organize your contacts and begin having conversations with the ones that can help you the most. So there is a priority to this. So we always look and say, who in my database or who in my address book knows the most people or is out there in really out there with the most people in the community, and those are the ones that are probably going to give you the most opportunity, and those will be the first ones I would reach out to. And so you basically contact them. You obviously catch up on life. Share with them that you're in real estate and ask them for a business. If you don't ask for it, you're not necessarily going to get it. Just telling them that you're in it isn't enough. You need to ask the question. We have dialogue for that, but the question is, I was just kind of curious, who do you know right now that's really out there looking to buy or sell a home? And then you just pause and kind of force a response. They may say, I can't think of anybody. Okay, well, that's no problem. I appreciate that you thought about it. Hopefully that you would entrust in me that I would do a great job if you did know someone. And I'd like to, take you to lunch and bring you some cards, or I'll mail you some cards. Just engage with them and make sure you ask for the business. Mastering the method. You need to use a CRM, add your contacts, set up a system to personally connect. And here's the thing. We need to keep it simple, and we can't make it overwhelming. And so think about it this way. You don't look at your database and say, oh my gosh, I got 3,000 contacts. I'll never get through all that, Scott. It's not about that. It's about connecting with 10 a day or 5 a day. And if you consistently have so many a day in a routine, then you're working your way through it, and you're gonna make it happen. If you look at it too big, it self-defeats, and you probably will tell yourself, that's just too big, and then you may not ever go there like you need to. But you need then to build your skills at engagement and asking for opportunities. You need to systemize your routines and actions for follow-up, and it's using the CRM again in a proper manner. If you want more help with your sphere of influence, just go in the back office again, SOI, sphere of influence, and we have a whole dialogue and training and setting up systems for you on that particular thing. So any questions about that? I do have a few more slides to wrap up. We're almost there at 9 o'clock. So here's something that's relatively new with our company, and we haven't seen a tremendous amount of engagement. Those that have are reaping the benefits, but it's another way to generate income and ongoing income for yourself, is to build your revenue share income, as an opportunity that we have here. And it's just adding that task to your task list, that when you do, um, have a transaction with another agent, that you remember to speak to them a little bit about who the company is and how it benefits them, how it's benefited you, how we're, basically have all the tools, the great support, the training, and all that, in which most companies don't have the extensive stuff that we provide, along with our good splits and then revenue share for them. But every agent in Florida is a business opportunity for you. You can share during transactions. You can share. Sometimes you'll go to socials where where it's a gathering of agents. You could talk to them there. Share. When you host open houses, sometimes agents bring in their customers during open houses. So imagine in a situation where you're hosting an open house and it's not your listing, then another agent's bringing in their buyer. If that agent's buyer buys that property, you kind of played a role in there, but not a whole lot, but you don't get compensated for that. But this just opens the door to say even agents that walk through that door is somebody I can engage with, and at least on some level, it may be an alternative business opportunity for myself, in that, in the revenue share. Market, who we are on social media, and invite the opportunities to the people you're connected with that are real estate agents as well. Different ways. I'm not here to push you to push our company, but it is your income that we're talking about and an opportunity for that. Any questions about that? Okay, we're almost done. So, well, a little bit more about this. So all remember, in respect to the revenue share, you just introduce and you're done. And we do everything for that agent and service them. We support them. We do all the training. We take care of all their compliance. We cover their insurance, and you get paid. So it's kind of an opportunity. Any questions or comments to this point? I got probably like 5 more slides and we're done. And I'd like to keep everybody on. So I hope you understand one thing is success is a strategy. You need to figure out what your strategy is, what methods you might be using, and then you need to carry out and actually take action on those methods, and then work on skilling up so you're very proficient at those methods. And if you do that, you are deemed to have a fluent and successful business. Without that, and just waiting or thinking about it is not going to work. So I come back to this, and I've had this slide before. I want to be successful doesn't make somebody successful. You have to have the will. You will be successful. That's a mindset, that's an attitude, and that's different than a want. And so we need to change your mindset from wanting to will have, because everyone wants to be successful, but not everybody is successful. You have to be committed, and you need to come out of this saying, I am going to be successful. I will be successful. Successful agents devote themselves to daily actions that result in successfully closed transactions. It comes back to the fact that you need to, which is easy said, hard done, is you need to devote yourself to taking action on some of these methods and actually going out there and pursuing it, so opportunities happen. And when you do, you will get successful closings. Were you about to say something, Jerry? No.
No, no, I wasn't. I just bumped the mic.
Okay, no problem. Almost done. Change your habits. You know, most of us have things that we procrastinate on. And if you continue to procrastinate or just it's a thought I want, you're not going to make it. You have to actually take opportunity actions. So you need to change from procrastinating actions to opportunity actions. And we play a role in that. I personally would play a role. If you needed somebody to step up and help you be a little bit accountable, if you're willing to sit in my room and be accountable, and I'm going to be accountable to myself, because I'm about to tell you I do these same kind of actions, but my customer is a little bit different, and I still do what I'm preaching right now. Mega agents master the skills of prospecting and converting leads at a high level. So you need to change your actions from elective actions to required actions. It's not, pursuing and finding customers is not an elective, it's a required. You can learn everything in the world about a sales contract, and you can memorize that thing from top to bottom, from word for word. But unless you have somebody that needs that contract, it has no value. And so the most difficult part of this business is taking action on finding customers. We often find ourselves thinking about it, agreeing with Scott, this is what I should do. I want to do it, but then actually doing it is a different story. You're capable, and I know it, and I'd be happy to try to lead you down to the path of doing it, if I can. So mega agents prospect for new business opportunities every single day. I'm telling you what top agents are doing. That's a priority in their business, and that's the single most important thing that they do. You must build your confidence from I can't to I can, because you can. And we find ourselves sometimes in self-defeat, meaning that we might make a small effort, but not a giant effort, and we then give up quickly, and didn't give it enough time to actually um, adequately get and see a result from it. And like I said, I probably knocked on 200 doors before I finally got a yes. It was the most dreadful thing I probably did in my life. But once I started getting yeses, then I, almost got to a point I couldn't wait to get in my car and do it again, because I knew what it meant, to my life and my finances and my success. I am right at the end here. So this is a picture of my desk today, before I left the office. And as you can see, there's MLS sheets all over it, but just like I'm attempting to persuade you the importance of prospecting or finding customers. I sat in the office and I made phone calls. I made calls to agents and other brokerages, and the effort of hopefully having an opportunity to meet them and greet them in person, and maybe share something of value that helps their business, but also share who my company is and the opportunity that we could provide them in growing their business. And I believe that we can do that. And so I did that today, and I made 5 appointments. But don't always get out of the bed with the excitement to doing that action. But the morning routine changes that. So when I follow my morning routine, get my exercise in, practice my skill set, prepare myself and update myself on the knowledge, and then watch something motivational, I'm ready to tackle it. And then I go in with a tackle attitude, with a positive attitude, and I start, diving into it. And so I come out of the other side with 5 appointments today. And it's the same thing. So that's why I said, if you felt that you are not going to move the marker and actually vest yourself into this action, and you want to have somebody, sitting beside helping encourage you and stuff like that, I invite you to my Trinity office almost of every day. And if you want to sit across from me and do some of that, I'm going to be, doing mine. I'd be happy to do that. So, for you, which meaning of fear represents you? Forget everything and run, or face everything and rise? Because the biggest part of why we don't move forward and take action is we have a level of fear, and the fear is a rejection. The fear is confidence. And until we move past that, we can't get to where we need to be. So hopefully yours becomes face everything and rise, and we get rid of the forget everything and run mentality, because you are capable, and you can win. So hopefully I shared a lot of value, got you a lot of focus, gave you the 8 main ones, and there is a tremendous amount of other ways you could pursue the business. But I thank you very much for staying on, and we're about 8 minutes after. So you need to ask yourself, are you going to take action on those things that are holding you back, and to start running forward and picking a couple of these methods and working hard to succeed with them? If anyone ever needs to, kind of speak with me outside of this and get some further guidance, that's what I enjoy. That's my passion and my purpose. And hopefully this helped you a lot. And I know I tapped into your evening, and you gave me your time, and I'm hopeful that I gave enough knowledge to be worth the time you gave me. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott. Have a good night.
Yes.
Thanks, Scott.
See ya.
All right. Very good. Look forward to it. Take care.
Thank you.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.